Hello and welcome. I'm Christina Amann. I'm the Sustainability Strategist and Advisor at Purple Ivy. I am delighted to be hosting this talk today on responsible business for people, planet, and prosperity. I'm extra delighted that we are supported by UNDP Vietnam and the government of Sweden.
Now, over 1.5 billion people on the planet till today live without adequate sanitation. You and I and privileged people like us do not even think about it because once we switch on the tap, we have water coming out of there.
One of the things that we forget about because we do take it for granted.
So we thought there had to be a methodology to conserve water. So we went from 60 to 70 to 80, we got it, kept on pushing the limits, got it up to 95 to 98, and we said, okay, there has to be no discharge.
And I think one should also mention, because for the audience, the fact that you have invested in this circularity and reinvesting the water and recycling the water, that was just not the norm in your industry to start off with.
In the process of propelling themselves, we got to understand that we are guests. We have to be equitable and just with our actions and to leave behind a legacy. And the legacy goes well beyond money. So now we're not even paying 1 cent for water because we're helping the industrial zone to clean up their water. We just become a little bit more efficient and cost competitive at the end of the day. And we also prove the theory that waste can be an input for manufacturing.
I do want to say that and highlight difference can be scary, but it is possible.
It's taken us 20 years to build this circular business model or a circular manufacturing system. So we have the ability to go from seed to shelf and beyond with data.
One mustn't forget that all of this is interconnected. You can't work with one without working on the other.
I think that's the journey and the purpose and the mission that gets justified in the long term.
Hello and welcome. Joining me today, we have Mr. Sanjeev Bahl. He's the founder of Saitex International. We all wear denim. We have all worn denim at one point in our life, whether it's a denim shirt, a pair of jeans, a jeans jacket. So I'm extra curious and interested to hear what Mr. Sanjeev will talk about today around responsible business practices and how they have been titled the cleanest denim producer in the world. Hello, Sanjeev. It's such a pleasure to have you today.
Hi, Christina. Thank you for the opportunity. I look forward to talking to you.
I'd like you to take some time to explain who is and what is Saitex? Why a responsible business?
Saitex was founded based on a couple of key fundamentals and principles, and that was to create positive impact. Now, impact is a very big word, so we just kind of bucketed it into 3 simple slots: social, environmental, and fiscal impact. In the past 20 odd years that Saitex has been in existence, I would say it's been a journey which has allowed us to redefine and reinvent our purpose. Overall, I would say that we've created a system or a concept. Like I said, it's gone way beyond the proof of concept that we were seeking to stake. That involves a business that can be a force for good and a business that can be used as a tool to do good, way beyond just looking at it single dimensionally as, revenue generating a bottom line oriented business. It's a purpose and it's a mission which just neatly ties into a modern day enterprise.
Sanjeev, if we could take a little bit of time to maybe explain the industry you're in. You're one of the cleanest denim producers in the world. Why did you have to pursue that? What was so different from what you were trying to do versus the industry you're in?
So first, we all get labeled in different terms by different people. It's other brands, it's other people who perceive us and our systems to be amongst the cleanest based on their experience. The foundation of Saitex's business was to prove the hypothesis that business can be a force for good and can be impactful. I mean net positive impact, because listen, along the way, all of us, we create negative impacts in some shape, size, and form. But so long as you're learning from the negative impacts that you create and you find continuous improvement methodology to convert those negative impacts into positive impacts, I think that's the journey and the purpose and the mission that gets justified in the long term. So it's all about long-term value creation. It's not a short-term solution. So what are these positive impacts? When you really drill down and narrow it down, you start looking at resources and you start really valuing resources like water. Now, over 1.5 billion people on the planet till today live without adequate sanitation. Now, you and I and privileged people like us do not even think about it, because once we switch on the tap, we have water coming out of there.
And it's such a luxury, isn't it? And one of the things that we forget about because we do take it for granted.
Absolutely. There's no real cost assimilated to it. Because if a liter of water costed $100, people would use it wisely. So we didn't want to be privileged, and we understood the importance of water. So we thought there had to be a methodology to conserve water. It's a journey. So the first step was, how do we recycle our water? So did we recycle 100% of our water first day? Absolutely not. So we went from 60 to 70 to 80. We got it, kept on pushing the limits, got it up to 95 to 98. And then we challenged the limits and we said, okay, there has to be no discharge. So today we try our best to ensure that our facilities are a zero discharge facility, right? And in the process, what we realized was water does come at a cost. So the industrial estate definitely does charge us 60 cents, 80 cents, whatever it is. And they assume that 80% of it is what you're discharging. So there's a huge water bill at the end of the month. When we set up a wastewater treatment plant or a recycling facility, it costs millions of dollars. If you're in the rabbit hole, you start thinking that, well, hey, why would you put in millions of dollars into a recycling facility where you could buy sewing machines at $500 each, and you could have 2,000 sewing machines, which could be productive in terms of labor arbitrage or otherwise. So we didn't go down that path, but we went down the path of being looking at water conservation. And the value of water was apparent when we started building P&Ls on water. It became even more apparent when we understood after 7 years that we had broken even on our investment.
And I think one should also mention, because for the audience, the fact that you have invested in this circularity and reinvesting the water and recycling the water, that was just not the norm in your industry to start off with, correct?
Yeah, it's definitely not the norm, because the whole textile industry has been labeled as being reckless for discharging contaminated water into mainstream rivers, as well as into land that finally ends up contaminating the water table. So it's not foreign to hear about these things. But of course, we started this journey well before things were being called out. Again, because we just thought it was important to be respectful. I don't want to personally regret not being in a position to have done my bit, even though it's a little drop in this massive ocean. So we're building a fabric mill in Vietnam, and we've taken it to another level where we are not using any fresh water. We are taking contaminated water, which has been let out by other industries. It's cleaned to a certain extent by the industrial zone, but we're cleaning it up and using it as an input into our manufacturing processes. So now we're not even paying 1 cent for water, because we're helping the industrial zone to clean up their water. So again, we just become a little bit more efficient and cost competitive at the end of the day. And we also prove the theory that waste can be an input for manufacturing.
And but if also, I can add in here, what I love that you're saying there is, as the saying goes, one man's waste can be someone else's treasure.
Exactly.
And it is a journey, and I'm going to take a minute here to also showcase a video that UNDP Vietnam has put together. In the video, there's a key message that comes out, which is invest in responsible business is invest in the future of Vietnam. So as I see it, is that responsible business practice is about investing in making the right decisions today to then contribute positively in the future. You talked early on about the long-term investment that you're doing. Can you relate it back to this video that the UNDP just put together?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've been in Vietnam for over 20 years. Now, Vietnam is a very special country for more than one reason. And it's impressive to be part of its culture and to see the well-deserved growth. Now, behind all the hardships that the country has gone through, it's managed to create a solid platform of discipline and safety and security, which has allowed businesses to propel itself. The tone that the video set, when it comes to responsibility, I think the first thing that we must be responsible to as good guests is to the country. The second level is centuries of hardships, and it's slowly getting recognized as a powerful economy. And within my living years, I would love to see it top bracketed amongst one of the leading economies on the planet. So socially, we all have to consider to build ecosystems, not protocols. So what we did about 15 odd years ago, we started taking a percentage of our top line revenue and investing it into community building. Today, we participate in the lives of close to 1,000 children in orphanages in Vietnam. Now, once these kids started turning 18, the next question, how do we mainstream them? How do we give them equality and integrity and respect and dignity and everything else that goes along? So we started integrating them through a new business in Saitex. It's called Recut, where we have committed to about 1,000 young adults to be part of the Saitex DNA. These kids have got different abilities. So we have 100 of them right now. And yeah, I think they're beautiful. They do is they make things like beautiful hand embroideries, few small toys, they make apparel, but it's poetry in motion. And there is a place for it. And Reuters didn't recognize Recut as the most diverse and inclusive organization on the planet in 2020. Now, if Saitex can do it, I'm sure other Vietnamese enterprises would understand the importance of doing something like this, and we would be a catalyst for change.
I do want to say that and highlight difference can be scary. So being a different type of company, thinking forward, investing in responsible business models, investing in inclusivity can be scary, but it is possible. I want to move to the next section and hone in a little bit more on the difference between circularity and linear approach and the approach that you have taken.
It's a journey and it's a process. The foundation that we built was for circularity. It's taken us 20 years to build this circular business model or a circular manufacturing system. So we've gone right down to the seed, right? And it's all about LCA or life cycle analysis. So we have the ability to go from seed to shelf and beyond with data. Besides the cotton, what we've also done is we've invested into a technology called Fiber Trace. With Fiber Trace, we have the ability to understand what it is, where it is, and where the ownership patterns lie over a period in time. However, what we did is we constructed a factory in Thailand now where we have the ability to collect waste, whatever kind of waste. It could be cotton, nylon, polyester, garments, and it's a patent pending protocol which allows us to convert waste textiles into microfibers. And with that, we construct a material which is a substitute for wood. And we are making fantastic things. But hey, listen, we all have to start somewhere, and we started exactly like everybody else, linear. But 21 years later today, this is the first year that Saitex, I could probably say that we are a circular manufacturing system.
What I find so interesting in the whole circular process that you've put together, you have clearly pinpointed that waste has a value. And that's really a key point. I do want to take a minute here to show a short video on the difference between circular and linear that UNDP Vietnam have put together for this session.
Những điểm khác biệt giữa mô hình kinh tế tuần hoàn và kinh tế tuyến tính. Kinh tế tuyến tính, hay mô hình tăng trưởng kinh tế truyền thống, sử dụng nguyên liệu thô làm đầu vào sản xuất, sau đó sản phẩm được sử dụng và kết thúc là thải loại ra môi trường. Kinh tế tuần hoàn hoạt động dựa trên nguyên tắc loại bỏ chất thải và ô nhiễm từ quá trình sản xuất và tiêu dùng, duy trì và kéo dài vòng đời sản phẩm và nguyên liệu, đồng thời luôn hướng tới tái tạo nguồn tài nguyên thiên nhiên. Điểm khác biệt lớn nhất giữa hai mô hình kinh doanh này là việc sử dụng và tạo ra giá trị của nguyên liệu. Trong khi mô hình tuyến tính sử dụng nguyên liệu đầu vào mới và sau đó thải loại, mô hình tuần hoàn tái sử dụng và tái chế phế phẩm để tạo ra các giá trị mới. Do đó, mô hình kinh tế tuần hoàn tạo thêm nhiều lợi ích kinh tế và giảm chi phí xử lý rác thải. Ngoài ra, một điểm khác biệt cơ bản nữa là tính bền vững trong mô hình kinh tế tuần hoàn và mô hình kinh tế tuyến tính. Mô hình kinh tế tuyến tính tuân theo kế hoạch từng bước lấy đi, biến tài nguyên đầu vào thành chất thải. Giá trị được tạo ra trong mô hình kinh tế này bằng cách sản xuất và bán càng nhiều sản phẩm càng tốt. Do đó, dẫn đến cạn kiệt tài nguyên trong khi liên tục tạo ra chất thải và tăng gánh nặng lên môi trường. Còn kinh tế tuần hoàn tuân theo cách tiếp cận 3R, tiết giảm, tái sử dụng và tái chế. Trong hệ thống này, giá trị được tạo ra bằng cách tập trung vào việc bảo tồn giá trị, hạn chế tối đa tác động lên môi trường. Kinh tế tuần hoàn còn góp phần tái tạo tài nguyên nhờ việc liên tục tái sử dụng phế phẩm thành nguyên liệu đầu vào cho quá trình sản xuất mới. Tóm lại, sự khác biệt giữa hai mô hình kinh tế có thể tóm gọn lại qua 5 yếu tố. Sản xuất, mục tiêu, quy mô sản xuất, mức độ tái sử dụng và mô hình kinh doanh.
Sanjeev, thank you so much for honing in on the circularity and how you have turned waste into value. They're all interconnected, right? One mustn't forget that all of this is interconnected. You can't work with one without working on the other. Sanjeev, we've also coming into 2021. 2020 was a bit of a different year with the start of COVID-19. How has that impacted you and Saitex?
We were in Vietnam, and the government of Vietnam, they did an outstanding job when you compare it to anywhere else in the world. Just by being in Vietnam, the impact that Saitex got involved with was marginal. I'd call it marginal. All our customers are overseas. So we've got customers in Europe, which was heavily impacted. And apparel is not on everybody's number one list to go and buy during a pandemic. I would say business has been impacted by 20 to 25% overall. But, we are a pretty agile organization, and we move pretty fast. Again, thanks to how fast the Vietnamese government moved, we started taking proactive measures way early from January 2021. We were like, okay, there's something coming here. Let's fasten our seatbelt and buckle up. By the time economy started feeling the impact, especially through consumer behavior, we had readjusted our manufacturing systems.
And I do have one last question to you. You have definitely inspired me, and I'm sure you've inspired the whole audience that is out there listening. Do you have some final words to us on responsible business models?
This may sound philosophical, but the fact of the matter is you come with nothing and you go with nothing. So you have this opportunity through this passage of time, which is called life. The opportunity is to leave something behind, not a name on a street and not a name which is marked on the grave. But if you talk to yourself, you can definitely do something positive to create change. And when our time comes to go, I'm sure we leave behind something really valuable. So I would always continuously keep on encouraging people, listen to their inner voice, do some good, leave behind a legacy, and just focus on making this world a better place.
Thank you so much, Sanjeev. You've been fantastic. We have loved the last couple minutes hearing from you. You have given us further inspiration, and we look forward to following Saitex International and your impact as you continue the journey on responsible business.
So thank you so much.
Wow, we've had quite some interesting and inspirational minutes with Mr. Sanjeev Bahl, founder of Saitex International. He has talked about the mindset he's had from the beginning, how he's incorporated the responsible business model into his business, not only just on the economic side, but including the social and environmental side as well. He's talked circularity, he's talked diversity and inclusion. And with all these points that he has raised, we hope that you come away with new ideas, new inspiration, and incorporate that into your responsible business ways as well. Thank you to Mr. Sanjeev, thank you to you as an audience, and we look forward to hearing more of your stories. We also want to hear from you. We know that there are many stories out there on responsible business models, and we want you to share your inspiration at your workplace, in your communities. So do take the time to upload your responsible business practices and use the hashtags that are running across the scene. How are we going to use them? Our favorite stories and the most impactful stories will be in turn shared on our social media platforms, and we look forward to highlighting them. Thank you again.